الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
Well, I'm from England and I'm actually an indentured servant, so coming to America was difficult. My voyage was sponsored by the people that I live with now, and the conditions weren't great, and even now where I'm living the conditions aren't great, and the work is difficult, and it's all the time. I don't know if I'm ever going to really be a freed person, but also in colonial America there isn't a lot to make life easier, like little things, so everything that we have to do is a process. Plus, the Puritans have done a lot to make sure that they dominate the area, so people are often exiled to places like Rhode Island. And as a woman, I face even more difficulties because the government just doesn't acknowledge us as equal parts, and we can't have a say in how our government is run and established.
When I moved here from Ireland, I couldn't afford the fare of the railroad further inland, so I had to live in the city and stay there. And I was able to get a job in a factory with a lot of other young female workers, but I had to work 6 days a week, and I worked more than 12 hours a day, and it was very tiring, and my pay was very small, and my living, not even to mention my living conditions were very cramped and small in factory quarters.
I moved to America from China in 1872, but 10 years later the government passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, and it made it a lot harder for us. My husband and I both faced widespread animosity, and we struggled to find jobs. We worked for very low wages in restaurants and laundromats. We struggled with the dilemma whether or not to stay here or return to China.
In March of 1942, my family and I, along with 112,000 other Japanese and Japanese Americans, were relocated and sent to internment camps until the end of the war. These camps were on flood-damaged lands, and other people were in mountainous lands or deserts, and the conditions were less than ideal. We were imprisoned solely because of our race. It's not like we did anything to this country, so I felt very discriminated against as a Japanese immigrant. These camps were bleak and demoralizing, and worst of all, me and my husband and children lived in one small room with one light and a cot and a few blankets, and that's all we had, living behind these barbed wire fences for many years.
America is a beautiful country with tons of freedom, but for me, being Muslim, I get discriminated against all the time just because my appearance and my religious apparel. Walking around, people give me weird looks. I don't get hired because of it. In the airports, me and my husband get followed around. And I am an American. I was here before 9/11. I was here before that discrimination started. My origins are American, but because I look different, because I dress different, because I go to a mosque, I get discriminated against. I get bias, I get judgments. And I don't think that's the way America should be. It's not the America that I knew before 9/11. And I get judged because of the extremist actions of a small elite from the Middle East, from Al-Qaeda and their terrorism on our country. And I don't think that's fair. I am an American.